sounds like nattersplat, bitch.
Nattersplat.
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 Nattersplat. Nattersplat. Nattersplat.
Nattersplat.
So what are we starting with today? You have physics questions
No,
for
I'm
me?
not. I don't have my physics questions yet. I thought that would be later when your brain is a bit more
This is like-
fatigued.
Fatigued?
Yeah.
Yeah, the mornings I'm like on it
You're
and
a bit
sharp.
sharper
Yeah.
in the morning, so I figured ask you that when you're a bit more fatigued later, and then you'll do worse, and that would be more funny for me. To
Thanks.
kind of walk you through some physics questions, something to look forward to. Now this is just a few questions about you.
Oh,
The
okay.
greatest topic.
I do like that topic.
I know.
I think
just
I'm
have
pretty
some-
interesting.
Just some things that I wanted to know.
Okay.
What do you miss most about the USA?
Mexican food.
Just like instant answer.
Yeah.
So-
like other than family, which is a given, like it's Mexican food. Everything
Right,
else
okay.
I can kind of
Okay, so
take
family
it or
is
leave
just
it.
like a one that you don't use because it's too cliched and it should always be the correct answer. Okay.
Yeah, and my family
Mexican-
visits me,
Yeah,
so
Mexican food came really quick. Just
Yeah.
out of interest, if I asked you what do you miss most about Mexico, what would your answer be?
cheap drugs.
Right, so the answer for Mexico is cheap drugs,
Yeah.
and the answer for USA is Mexican food.
Yes.
And this one isn't written down, but what's the thing you miss most about Canada?
Oh shucks, my friends.
Soup.
Yeah, my friends. That's why.
Yeah.
Like I know a couple people out there that I really adore. There's Damien Soup and
Uh-huh.
a little dragon girl that I hold in high respect.
Dragon girl.
Yeah, she has pointed ears and a dragon tail.
How to train your dragon. Nice. Well, that one's quite in the bag. Go on then, for our European listeners, what is the difference between American Mexican food, Mexican food, and Mexican food in continental Europe?
Okay, so it depends on where you are because here in Holland there's not really any authentic Mexican food. However, in the Czech Republic, and that's why I love being there so much, is there's a ton of good Mexican food out there actually, and it's quite authentic. And the difference is like you have to order where you have to order it from the land that it comes from. Like why Chinese food always tastes like Chinese food is because they order the ingredients from China.
Right.
So it's kind of like the same with Mexican food because I've been in like different places like all over Europe and I'll buy the like exact same ingredients and I'll try to put them together, but it just doesn't taste the same. Like
Because it doesn't come from Mexico.
yeah,
That's
like
the
it's
main
really
thing.
environmental, and that's the difference, I guess.
Are you including tequila when you say Mexican food?
Good
Does that-
tequila
does
doesn't
that-
make it out here often because I
Right,
used to
yeah.
live right on the border in Mexico, and
So
like
you miss
I
tequila
love
as
I
well.
love me some tequila.
So does that come under the bracket of Mexican food and drink?
Oh.
Food and drink. Mexican food and drink.
Okay, but even alcohol I wouldn't even put under drink necessarily because I feel like drink would be
Okay.
something that nourishes you, and alcohol is more of like a fun
Tequila
substance.
nourishes the soul.
Yeah, okay, well that's then that's something else.
It's not all about physics. For someone so spiritual, why would you take such a three-dimensional look at something? Well, anyway, I think you answered that one quite well. What is the worst thing about Europe? So this is kind of in comparison to America again, but what don't you like about maybe Europe that isn't the problem? In the United States of these Americas.
It really varies upon the country because each country's so different from one another. It depends on the country that you're in and the laws per the country. So, like in Holland, they're super on top of their bureaucracy and paperwork and crap like that, and it's just exhausting how well the system is run. But then in the Czech Republic, like it's a lot more flexible still. It's more kind of like the U.S. and you can
Maybe a bit more flexible, but still bureaucratic, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, they do, but it's more flexible. It's more like the U.S. It's not so tight knit. You have to update things every quarterly, etc. So Germany and Holland are very much.
No details, please, but have you ever bribed anybody? I don't want any specific details of
What?
countries or officials. And have you ever...
I don't know about important people, but for sure, like I'm sure friends have bribed them to do things.
Friends. I think
I know
that's-
I've bribed Megan Inky to do a couple things.
I'm not
maybe.
sure that's bribing. It's maybe just
That's just-
financial coercion.
Just talking her into doing dumb shit with
Yeah, I
me.
think that's a little different. Megan, if you feel victimized, you can always call me, either just to talk about it or to chastise Proxy. Sometimes she needs putting in her place. She can't just use money.
Whatever. Chad doesn't know what he's talking about.
Chad.
Okay, Chad.
Uh-huh. Next question from Chad. What was school like until 9th grade?
I dropped out in 9th grade.
Well, hence the question, what was school like until 9th grade? Because you wouldn't know what school was
Not
like.
good. I didn't excel in school really because I'm more of a hands-on learner.
No
And
joke.
like I taught myself kind of the majority of the things that I know. So yeah, I dropped out and I wasn't there for 9th grade.
Mhm.
I was out of school a lot. I ditched with my friends. We'd go to the mall and
So you didn't particularly like school even socially maybe?
no.
Uh-huh. So academically
Because
wasn't
like the
interest-
same girl that I would ditch school with, like we would eat lunch alone in the bathroom, in the girls' bathroom. We would eat in there because we didn't get along with everybody else. And I was in
Wow.
and I was like kind of like a sore thumb as well where I lived. Like I was in a predominantly like Mexican school and neighborhood as well. And like I got singled out a lot and picked on a lot. So
So you're the result of bullying. This
Yeah.
is what happens if you allow your children to be
then they learn on their own and they research things on
strong,
their
independent women who
Yeah.
dream of having
No,
telekinesis
no, okay, but like
to defeat their enemies.
no, it's just knowing about the ability and the connection that we have to telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think bullying's an important part of the curriculum. Like you should stop it when you see it, and it shouldn't get as crazy as like movies per se make it, like to
Right.
the point to where kids are like being followed and think. But I do think
Right.
like bullying is moderately productive.
I think the word bullying is when it goes too far. I think kids give each other stigma a lot of the time, just as adults do. You know, some of the boys, when they're playing football, will be told, you know, we don't want you to play. And they think they're being victimized. More often than not, they're not following the rules of the game. You know, when boys get into playing football, the rules are what count. And if you can play productively within those parameters, they won't kick you out, even if they don't like the way you talk or you're a bit weird. You know, if you play the game, you play the game. And if you can't play with those parameters, you kind of get ostracized. And I wouldn't call that bullying. I think it's kind of
Initiation.
it's kind of
almost.
it's like it's socialization and saying you play with the rules or you don't play at all. And the boys are very good at doing that, and then the girls are a lot more vicious. You know, they're a lot more bitchy earlier, I would say. It's a lot easier for girls to be a bit.
They're already in their heads from a young
Yeah,
age
they're much more
and like
verbal.
calculating and
Totally.
judging and analyzing things. Like
It's a lot
I don't
more
want to be her
focused.
friend because she has this kind of backpack.
Right.
This means something.
And I now must tarnish her name amongst all the girls, like with vicious rumor spreading. It's very different to boys, I think. But it's good to know that you were the victim and not the.
See, but that's what we need to be teaching kids in school is like we need to be educating them on social skills. And that's one thing that if I was to install my new world regime, that would be something I would definitely put into school is social skills.
Dangerous. Is it up to the state to teach social skills? I mean, to some extent, maybe.
Yeah, because like in the Czech Republic, do those like parents not have like a collaboration effort of minds to put together to teach the younger generation of Czech children, you know, to follow in the footsteps of their parents and like this is what you do if this is the career you're going to take, this is how you act, this is what you do when you fall in love, this is what you do when you experience these emotions. Here's a warning, instead of like letting all these kids come into these emotions on their own and then needing to figure them out and being too afraid to ask about it. But if we had emotional building classes or something like that in social building classes in school, I think that would really benefit children. And yeah, it would be different per place that you're in, but then like that's how America is as well. We we mostly learn about US history or even state history until a certain point. Like I only made it to 9th grade, but I didn't learn shit for shit about anything worldly significant. Like I learned about plenty of little wars within the US, but there's so much more about that. How do we get there? And beyond that. So
History.
social skills in schools would be such a wonderful thing to implement, I think.
That's it. But unfortunately, most of the socialization process happens, almost before you're 2 years old, and certainly before you're 4 years old. Most of it happens before education begins.
The kids
But
are
I would
always
agree-
learning and growing,
I would
you know?
agree with you exactly. It's something that happens a lot with outside. It's not so much classroom taught, but I would say part of my job was, honing that, watching their socialization skills grow. and
Like
see
I
where
think
they
like
need a little
emotional
help.
discovery and explanation would go really far for some people, and letting the kids know like it's not the same for everybody, but in general this is what's happening. If you want them to be a functioning member of society, instead of just filling them with a bunch of information, but then
Yeah.
you're not actually guiding them emotionally, like how does this make you feel, because that is
Right.
such a significant factor in so many choices that
Right.
people make on a day-to-day basis.
But just to put it in context, sometimes you're telling children, don't eat that dirt. You used a lot of big words there.
I think that's something else.
Just so you know, sometimes
Those
the
are like the
conversation.
common social skills. I'm talking about like the more complex, like
yeah,
emotional.
and like
side
I
of
said,
social
just to
skills.
put it in scale, some of these children, you're telling them why they shouldn't eat dirt.
Yes.
So maybe they would struggle a little bit with your class. I don't know.
No, but
It's
then
an age thing,
then you're
yes.
getting like into the middle school.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's when kids are hitting puberty. You wouldn't teach that until it was relevant.
Exactly, and middle school because it's probably pretty rough, very self-conscious. I think.
Exactly. Could you imagine if you had a
Yeah.
teacher or a class to go to help understand the
Yeah.
feelings
Were-
that you were
were you
experiencing?
self-conscious?
Because then if you were to know that like, hey, I'm not alone in these things. When your parents say, I know exactly how you're feeling, I know what you're going through, we might fucking believe them
Yeah.
and be able to not repeat patterns so
yeah,
much.
I agree.
And
I was thinking about that. That's true.
so
Like the fact that teenagers are incapable of believing that their parents might have some inclination to understand what they've been through. Like, I was a teenager, I was a child, and the fact
because you
that
rebel
parents
against
can't
that
do it.
idea so much because you feel so individual and alone when you're experiencing these emotions, and you can't fathom that other people right next to you are going through the exact same thing that you are.
Arrogance of teenage years, huh?
Yeah, like, and imagine if we were just to like help the youth, like that would help them develop as a human being and as a functional member of society so much more if they were to find out like their ways of fitting in and even not fitting in, and that's okay, and that all of these like different members of society create the society that we have that adds diversity, and then that adds different skill sets and different. Some people will be antisocial, and then they could do this or that or the other, and there's
Well, you're
just
already
a
kinda
spot
doing
in the
that.
there's a spot in the world for everybody, and people should know that.
You are doing that. You're talking about getting teens to fit in, and you're teaching young teen girls how to fit it in. You know what I mean? It's like
the next generation of
Like,
boy
it's
girls.
just a
I am actually like I do try to be like educational, and that's one thing through being an agent is like when I was on the XBiz panel, like there was a bunch of different agents representing the European agencies, and the one thing that everybody agreed on was that you have to make a connection with the models that you work with, at least on some level, to understand them, to know and help them with their career, like guiding their career if they have that in mind or if they don't or whatever. So it's just individualism. You can be an individual and fit in all at the same time, and it's just knowing the differences of that, and you can be inclusive and exclusive all at the same time, which is fun.
But in summary, you feel like you weren't exactly fitting in so much in school.
No,
you'd say.
definitely
But were
not.
you
Oh, definitely
Did
not.
you have a lot of negative feelings about it, or were you just kind of
No,
like?
I was just an outsider anyway. Like even through the younger years of school, like I was always because okay, so learning development was an issue, just because I didn't grasp the standardized way of learning necessarily. And I've met friends with kids that were around my age when I was having those struggles, and they're like, yeah, like, is my kid, like, are they slow or what's going on? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I feel like I at least try to, like, without finishing school, educate myself enough on my own, like, and I was able to do that in my own way. You just don't always learn the school way, so don't worry
Right.
about it.
Right.
Everybody hits their strides at different times.
Yeah, well, I think school should be teaching you kind of how to think and how to learn, because you can't cram it all in, right? While you're at
Yeah.
school. Anyway, despite all of that, did you have a favorite subject while you were there? Did you have a favorite subject?
Math and science.
Yeah?
I tried to start an astronomy club in school.
You already got into those STEM fields, huh? Despite the stereotype.
Yeah.
Well, you just knew it was full of men, right?
No, I like my brain worked better with
Yeah.
numbers than like letters, and then sciences are not a far shoot from like wanting to understand the world and being curious by things.
Well, this is a great revelation.
I don't want to play with dolls. I want to know why the fucking ground is moving and
Uh-huh.
doing this and that.
Sinkholes. Was the answer
Different,
sinkholes?
no, different things like bugs under the ground,
Uh-huh.
sinkholes.
Uh-huh.
There's a million reasons
Terrified of sinkholes.
why the ground would be. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Don't want to know why the ground. I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss when it comes to sinkholes. Okay, so like the STEM subjects, that's pretty good because I want to ask you some of that later.
Okay.
So that's a good one. I've got now what the next question was. What would your favorite subject be now? And I guess it would be sort of science / history /
No, because any history that they're going to teach in school, I'm not interested in.
trad history.
Because okay, let me ask you, because you come from the UK. Like, when did you learn about the Sumerians in school, and how much did you cover them?
Okay,
Or did
you're right.
you? Or
We
did you
not
learn
talk
about them?
Sumerians? No. Not
So
so much.
yeah, like any history, like is.
History's pretty big, right?
Yeah, it depends on where your interests are. See,
We
I
went back
wouldn't
to
be
ancient
interested.
Egypt. I remember specifically learning about ancient Egypt in primary
Okay, that's
school and the
significant.
Romans.
I never learned
First
about
World
like the
War,
ancient Egypt. Like I had heard about it in
Greece.
passing and.
Greece, we did.
Yeah.
See,
You guys have a richer culture out here, and it's so much closer, physically closer to you, so you can't not know about it.
Yeah, we have just more of an interest in the world, which means we have more of an interest in history, I think. And, well, yeah.
Well, it's because it's
American
right next
schooling.
to you. It's walking on the streets next to you. It's part of the culture of
Yeah.
it being out here, the diversity of Europe
Yeah.
in general. So,
And we definitely still have the British Museum full of Egyptian artifacts, so we have to keep teaching that because we stole everything, you know.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, we did. I'll be honest. I can speak in defense of the British Empire sometimes, but that British Museum, it's like, ooh.
But then again,
where else would it go?
No. But I don't necessarily completely agree
Uh-huh.
with that, because it's not the British that are trying to alter history. So
That's true.
I think it's in safer hands with you guys than some of the places that it comes
Well,
from.
especially at the time.
Not
you
just
know?
Egypt per se, but then you guys also have what do they call them? You have a Lamassu. I think maybe even two Lamassus.
What's a
From
Lamassu?
it's a mythical character that's been portrayed through statues for a long time.
Right.
It's like a half lion, half person
Uh-huh.
thing, and they have the body of either a horse or a lion, and then the top of the head of a man. And
Like the Sphinx. Is that a Lamassu then?
kind of like the Sphinx,
So the Sphinx is a Lamassu?
I guess.
I read someone saying that they knocked the noses off the Sphinx because the nose gave away its true ancestry,
Yeah.
and it had a big, African black nose, and they said that the British
Is it
or
African
whoever,
or is it Asian? Because
Well,
those cultures that it can have similar.
they were saying they showed that the Indians were clearly, the Egyptians were clearly, of African black descent, and then the noses were knocked off. I mean, that seems a bit far-fetched to me. The noses would be the first bits to fall off, when they're thousands of years old, I guess. Hard to say, though.
These.
Right. That's not
You guys
exactly
also
right.
have one of these that came from one of the countries in the Middle East, and they had destroyed their architecture since then. And I do believe this is Afghanistan. So, but you guys
Yeah.
have some things like that
And then
that
they
wouldn't exist
Exactly.
anymore in their original form. So
Exactly, the Islamic State.
I
they
can
went
defend
round. Yeah, you're right.
that.
Yeah, I'm glad we got onto that. Yeah, because when they were in Iraq, they destroyed lots of relics
lot
and things. They
of things.
They do not like history.
Oh yeah, Iraq. That's where it was. It was in Iraq. Yeah.
Totally destroyed, and I mean they've been doing that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Extremists, Islamic extremists. So you're right. If you want stuff safe, Give it to the Brits. We'll put it in cold storage for you. You know, once you get your shit together, ask for it back. We'll say no. Try a second time. We'll say no. Third time, it's like parole. Maybe you'll get it.
Maybe you'll get something.
For good behaviour. We haven't destroyed a relic in 100 years. Can we have our artifacts back? Maybe. Is there a thing that lots of people assume about you that's totally wrong? Is there anything that like often people just assume?
Well, I don't know, because okay, that's a good question. I don't know, because I don't care about what people think, so I don't listen to them.
Right.
Like, anyway, so I wouldn't have
I think you're an arsehole.
caught it, like, that much. But I don't know what people, like, wouldn't know about me. Like, I bet people don't, like, okay, this I've gotten before. So I had 2 people in a week ask me this question, and I got really upset about it. They asked me if I had a good relationship with my family because of what I do. And I was like, that's really offensive. Like, but then I understood it. Like, I had to, like, talk myself down a little. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, it's not...
It's offensive, but true.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, daddy issues is a thing. And I think any man who's been reasonably
and also just that, like,
successful
it's a shameful career, and your parents would probably disown you from something like that, which can happen for sure. But no, because I have such a good relationship with both of my parents, and they both know and everything. So I personally took it offensive. So I guess if people think in stereotypes, there's a bunch of things that people wouldn't know about me. So if we were to go to typical stereotypes of my profession, in that sense, then I bet like a lot of people don't know like that I might not be school taught, but I'm life taught, and I'm a moderately like reasonable and understandable and knowledgeable person. And
your thirst for knowledge is so great that I'd be scared you would just take too much of it in, you know, from the wrong sources. You know, like someone who's thirsty goes and drinks from the infected lake, you know?
I have plotted on how to like take over the world before, so.
That wasn't the issue I was getting at. I mean, totalitarianism aside, you know, swiftly moving on. Can you put too much decor in your home?
Yes.
You can.
It can become cluttered very easily.
Can you put too much gold decor in your home?
Depends. It depends. Gold's a nice thing. Depends on what you got going on. If you want to, make it work, baby. I love gold.
Have you ever had gold hair? Is it possible?
I think that's just blonde.
I don't know. The right spray.
I could put spray paint in my hair.
What is the next item in your home that you want gilded?
I need shelves, and I want to get cat shelves, like the cats can like, and they have like clear bowls that they could sit in, and I'll be so happy to see my cat sit in a clear bowl hanging on a wall. So that
when they just look like a little ball of fur,
and like you see like their little paws through like the
just
plastic.
The paws, that would look cute. Well, that leads me nicely on actually to my last question.
Okay.
What would your third cat be called?
She
already has 2 cats. So
I like made up names because I have Sheewy and I have Snoosh, and I don't know. I'd probably have to go with something. I didn't necessarily like matching names, but now these 2 are so close.
You'd want a sound.
Yeah, I'd have to do something like that.
Shagalag.
Yeah, it would come. It would have to come to me when I met them.
Schwam. That's a Dutch word.
I had a cat named Bot once.
Bot?
Yeah.
Robot.
Because I had a Snush before. I had Snush and Bot. And
Snush Bot.
Yeah, and they were from her first litter.
Sheewy.
Yeah, she had 2.5 kittens for her first litter.
Sheewy is a thing that women used to piss standing up.
Oh, yeah, but that's not her name.
No, it's slightly different. That's a Sheewy. But I'm pretty sure someone patented that. Just so girls could be like, I have never met a girl who saw that or heard that idea and was like, awesome, I need one.
Yeah.
And I guess there are some women who really do have Freudian penis envy.
Yeah.
And the idea of them pissing standing up is really super.
Like,
Super to
there's
know.
circumstances where you could use it, but like to carry that around and then like, what are you gonna walk that to the sink and clean it out and put it back in your purse or like?
It's
like
probably
how
got a
does
bag.
like what about the rest of it?
It's probably got a bag maybe. Oh. Well, actually, I think I don't know how I remember this, but I think the Sheewy designer or concept maker said something like the tool itself is actually just for beginners, because the true nirvana of Sheewy is that you use your fingers in a certain way that just angles your, what is it? Urethra Franklin in the right area.
You just pull it up.
And you pull up and aim, and they said that the actual contraption is superfluous. There's a technique, and that's true mastery.
Because it drips, so.
Because it drips, but I think that's a good note to finish on. Thank you for answering my questions. If you made it through an entire episode of Nattersplat, well done you. You can find more of us all over the internet and at nattersplat.com.